We've lost something as electronic music producers, and it might not be exactly what you think. My name is Derek Ryan. I run Ascent Recordings here in Tokyo, as well as producing under my own alias and a few others. I learned something the other day. I had a revelation a little bit about some stuff that has been in the music industry for a while, but we tend to miss actually in our little corner of it. Let me explain. I was driving in England, to be specific, the Wirral Peninsula, south of Liverpool. In driving around there, I was blasting music as you do, and the album that my wife and I were listening to was Soundgarden's Super Unknown. So incredible rock album, one of the best of all time if you ask me. Not that you did, but that's what I would say. And I was screaming, singing, whatever you want to call it, my lungs out, kind of getting into the vibe and enjoying the album as you do. And when we got to the end of the album, something surprising happened. Instead of just ending when Chris Cornell sang the last notes of Just Like Suicide, it went on to something else. And that something else that it went on to was of way less quality. And it turns out what had happened is we were listening to the anniversary edition, which contained demos, rough takes, and sort of rehearsal versions of these songs that were on the album. So we went right into Let Me Drown, I think it was also the first track on the album, but we went into a demo of that, but it didn't sound nearly as good. Of course it didn't, right? It was a demo. But there's an interesting thing in there that I think we forgot, because in listening to these things, although they didn't sound nearly as good, they had all the seeds of the major ideas that ended up on the album. So, some of the timing was off, maybe the vocals weren't pitch on, and maybe some of the solos were not quite worked out, and some of the rhythms changed a lot. They're pretty different, right? They didn't have the production touches or any of the stuff that goes on the final album. But the thing is, they had the core idea. And a lot of times, as music producers, we don't do this. So what we do is we'll start with a drum track or maybe a melody or one thing, and we'll layer a bunch of stuff on top of it little by little, and we end up with a layer cake that has all the stuff that's built up from the beginning. These songs were built in a different fashion because they recorded these versions and then went and recorded another version. And that version they put on the album, that was the killer. The thing that I realized is that one thing we can do to make our music better, and I've been trying this and it's been working pretty well for me, is that we can actually do the same thing. So when you have something that's kind of getting there and it's got some legs to it, it's worth it to actually stop and try to remix yourself. See what you can do. Take the parts of them, export them, and then re-import them and do something else with them. Because if you have a strong idea, just building it up from what you have isn't necessarily the best way to make it shine. A lot of times, it takes changing the way that idea sits and changing the way that idea is interacted with to really bring it out and make it stronger. The more abstract we can be with our ideas, the kind of more value that we can bring to our listeners. I really believe this, and it's something that I'm trying right now and experimenting with. Let me know how you get on, and I will as well. I'll post some more videos if this goes well, and see you on the flip side. Hope you make great music.